Get in on the action and make your bet with Sports Interaction. The F1 schedule is heating up. Will you go with the reliable and Max Verstappen, or take your chance with a potential surprise? Download the app in Ontario. Use the QR code you see at the bottom of your screen somewhere, or head to sportsinteraction.com/SDPN to get started. 19 plus, please play responsibly. Welcome to Nailing the Apex, everyone. I'm Tim Hauraney. Please head on over to Spotify, give us a 5-star rating and a follow. Same goes with Apple Podcasts as well. Write a review as it helps us grow the show. You can follow me on all social media at Tim Hauraney. So the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix has been called off for this weekend due to extreme weather and flooding in the Italian region, so around the Imola area. So due to heavy rainfall, a number of rivers and dams, well, they've burst, and they've caused some severe flooding in the area. So many of the surrounding communities and neighborhoods, well, they've all been evacuated or are in the process of being evacuated from their homes. So Wednesday morning, meetings took place with local authorities, race organizers, and all moved swiftly and agreed that the event couldn't be held due to the safety situation. F1 also did not want to put added burden on emergency workers in the area. F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali, well, he put out a statement, and part of it had said that F1 can't create extra burden for local authorities as they do battle this very awful situation. Now, there are some reports that were flying around that Alpha Towery, some of their staff members were evacuated from their homes. Now, Alpha Towery, their facility is actually in the Imola area. So some of these employees, well, they spent the night at the team's factory, which is not far from the racetrack itself. And if we go through this on a bit of a play-by-play basis, there has been some heavy rainfall in that area for, quite a bit of time. And on Tuesday, Formula One had notified the teams and those that were tasked with putting together the team garages, the trailers, the hospitality areas to leave due to the increased flooding at the racetrack. Now, if you go online and take a look at some of the images, it's pretty shocking. There was quite a bit of flooding that actually happened at the racetrack. And when I was looking at it on Tuesday, I immediately thought that there was probably no way that this race was going to move forward. There was just so much flooding. And then more images started to surface from the area itself having had severe flooding, and it's not good. So on Wednesday, well, actually the teams were told on the Tuesday, not to come back to the track for the Wednesday so they could figure out what was going on. So, however, though, some team personnel were traveling into the region on the Wednesday, so some of the team personnel, well, they were told of the news that this thing had been canceled, and they had to turn back and head back to the airport. It's the right move, to call it off. Emergency services need to concentrate on rescue efforts and helping those who have been heavily hit by this, and not be jammed up with, fans and folks heading to the racetrack. So this would also free up some hotel spaces, I feel, that can also be used for those who have been evacuated from their homes. Now, at this moment, I can only recall a few F1 weekends that had to be canceled. I'm sure there's a lot of other ones. I'm just going from the top of my head, but 2019, I remember the Japanese Grand Prix, the Saturday of track action. Well, that was canceled due to a typhoon that had been moving through the area. So free practice 3 was canceled, qualifying was canceled, and all of it got moved to Sunday in the morning in Japan, and the race followed later that day. I do remember that the qualifying for folks on the Eastern time zone, which I was on, you get to watch F1 at like 9 o'clock at night, and then had to be up again later on in that morning to watch the race. In 2020, we had the Australian Grand Prix. So in lead up to that race, COVID was on the rise, and as teams and team personnel got to Australia, and actually China had canceled their event, I believe, before Australia. So then a McLaren team personnel, if I remember correctly, they tested positive, and eventually the Australian Grand Prix was canceled. 2021 Belgian Grand Prix. Now that wasn't necessarily, well, I guess it was kind of canceled, but quali day it was raining heavily on the Saturday, and I remember Lando Norris had a massive crash there at Eau Rouge, and I think it was Sebastian Vettel at the time. He was questioning why they were running on the Saturday. Then race day, there was horrible rainstorm, and there was massive delays to the start of that race. I can't remember. There's like 2 to 3 hour delay for that one, and then they only had them out on like almost a parade lap around for a few laps, and it ended with it being red flagged, and then teams and drivers, they were given half points. I remember that the fans just weren't happy either about that, and eventually F1 returned to Spa the following year. Back on hand, at this moment, I think it's maybe unlikely that this race is rescheduled. I mean, the F1 calendar moving forward is really jam-packed. The schedule now, if it doesn't get rescheduled, it would move down to 22 rounds for the season. Next up is Monaco Grand Prix. That's scheduled for next weekend, but Imola, this was all set up to be a triple header. So we would have had Imola, Monaco, and then Spain. And then after the Spanish Grand Prix, there would have been some time off. And then the Canadian Grand Prix would have been up just after that. So yeah, a horrible situation for the folks in the Italian region. My heart definitely goes out to them. This is horrible. And I think F1, like I'd said, they made the right decision, and working with local authorities and calling this thing off. I mean, it's just, you can't jam up the emergency services workers. You can't just jam all these people up. So it's good. They did the right thing here. Shoot me a note on social media. If you got any questions on this, try and answer it as best I can. It's all the information I have at this moment for now. If you want more from me, you can get me on social media at Tim Hauraney. Please head on over to Spotify, give the podcast a 5-star rating and a follow. Same goes with Apple Podcasts as well. Rate a review, and we'll talk to you all later.